All right. Thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Virginia students, sponsored by the Virginia Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Counselors and StriveScan. Thank you so much for joining us. A few housekeeping items before we get started. I'll share my screen here so we can all visualize it together. Make sure that you know that you can ask questions. You can ask questions through the Q&A button. And we will have our presenters answering those throughout the presentation. Your camera and microphone are off, so no panelists can see you or hear you. You can sign up for more sessions. We've got our final week of sessions geared toward first-year students happening right now, and then sessions geared toward students interested in the transfer process next week. You can find those at strivescan.com/Virginia, and recordings will be available of all of these sessions at the same site, so strivescan.com/Virginia. So thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to our presenters.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us for this afternoon session, which is on making sense of the scholarship search, so how to make college affordable. I'm joined by a number of wonderful colleagues from different private institutions in Virginia as well as North Carolina. So at this time, we'll give an opportunity for us to go through our introductions. So Connor, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Connor Rund. I'm Associate Dean of Admissions at Hampton-Sydney College, and I'm actually the regional representative in the Southeast. So I'm coming to you from Georgia, but excited for our chat today.
And I'm Kaylin Asip. I'm the Director of Admission at Hollins University in Roanoke, Virginia. And I'm just excited to speak with you. I cover the Richmond area of Virginia and help our other counselors who support other Virginia student areas as well.
My name is Cole Rosen. I am an Associate Director here at Roanoke College, and I recruit primarily in the Roanoke Valley area as well as the local territory around Roanoke College itself.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Bradbury, and I'm a regional representative with St. Andrews University out of Laurinburg, North Carolina. But I reside in Winston-Salem and cover the northern border and half of the western border of North Carolina. Happy to be here today. Excited to get some information out to you.
And good afternoon. My name is Grace Lawhead, and I'm the Associate Director of Admission here at Washington and Lee. And I have the great honor of serving and working with all of our Virginia students. So thanks so much for tuning in and letting us be a part of your afternoon.
So just a quick overview of what we're up to today. First and foremost, just kind of what is financial aid, a little 101 preview of what the financial aid process looks like. And then we're going to give you some insights on how to apply for financial aid, some actionable steps that you can take. We are excited to kind of show you behind the curtain of some institutional practices of what it looks like when you're applying for those financial aid and scholarships, and give you some tips on resources of how to begin navigating kind of cost versus value, and particularly from our perspective through the private colleges, and really the investment that college is in your future, and how financial aid is investing in you. But I think most importantly, we're excited to leave some time for questions and answers because I'm sure that there's a lot on your mind right now. So we're definitely gonna plan to leave some of that time. But financial aid, you know, it's really one of the most exciting parts of the college search process is when a student finds that perfect school. You know, the academic programs line up, the social scene is what they're looking for. And then the $1 million question hits of, okay, how much does it cost? There's a thing called sticker shock. That's a very real thing. And what we want to do today is talk about how we can kind of offset that sticker shock. And so financial aid is just a really comprehensive package to help help make the college of your, of your dreams and of your interests really a financial fit as well. And so that happens in a number of ways. Scholarships and grants are things that you don't have to pay back, and those can come in a number of different ways. First and foremost, that merit-based piece. And so we're going to talk a lot about the merit-based scholarships. And basically, that's just money that you earn through your academic performance, through your GPA, your SAT, ACT, perhaps an essay or an application that you fill out separate. There's also talent-based, things like athletics or the arts. Maybe some achievement awards. At Hampton-Sydney, we have leadership awards for students who participate in Boys State or who earn the rank of Eagle Scouts. So there's a number of different unique ways that you can go about earning financial aid. There's also opportunities for need-based aid. And so that's just based on your family's financial situation. And so we're going to talk a lot today about opportunities to earn that need-based aid and put yourself in a position where your family's financial situation can be taken into account through the financial aid process. There are also loans and federal, private, subsidized, unsubsidized. We're going to talk a little bit about those types of things today, and work study jobs. But I think the most important thing to take in mind with the financial aid process is that it is a process and it is an ongoing conversation. And there are a ton of resources and people who are eager to be a resource for you as you navigate this process.
So thank you, Connor, for giving a bit more of an overview on financial aid and what is it. I'm going to move into talking more about how you actually go about applying for financial aid. So there are a couple of different opportunities and ways that you can apply for financial aid. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you've completed the application to the institutions that you're considering in order to complete the FAFSA process. You don't have to complete the applications first, but we definitely strongly suggest that you do that. Next, you'll complete a FAFSA for the 2020-2021 school year or cycle, and that is on FAFSA.gov. So it becomes available October 1st, so it's already available for you seniors, and most institutions close the FAFSA or free application for federal student aid as of March 1st as the deadline. There are some schools that have different priority deadlines, some schools that accept the FAFSA beyond March 1st, but March 1st is a good deadline. However, I would suggest that you look at institutions' practices to determine the deadlines for those institutions of your choice. You can select up to 10 institutions to include on the FAFSA. So you want to make sure that if you have a really broad list, that maybe those top 10 schools that you're considering are those that you include on the FAFSA. In addition, Virginians have the opportunity to complete the VTAG or Virginia Tuition Assistant Grant application for Virginia private schools. This provides some additional state funding to students that are considering and wanting to go to private education. So you can see the figures here for the Virginia TAG grant for last year. So $3,520, that's money that you don't have to pay back to help contribute to your education. And for the transfer students, it's roughly around $1,000. In addition, you'll want to see if a university requires a CSS profile, and I'll go into a little bit more detail into what that is, as well as any other forms or applications in order to receive financial assistance, either from the institution itself or any additional scholarship opportunity applications. And then checking deadlines for those additional scholarship or outside scholarships and grants. So there are some specific institutional scholarships that will cover, and some of those do require additional applications with specific deadlines for you to be mindful of. So in terms of the forms themselves, so the FAFSA, that pre-application for federal student aid, like I said, opens October 1st. Most students will apply as dependents and require parental information. So you want to be mindful that you have your parent or guardian there to help support you through the process and provide information during the application process. Is going to be useful and helpful to you so you can complete that application pretty efficiently. There are some exceptions where students can identify as independent students, and you can see those there: foster children, orphans, wards of the court, and unaccompanied homeless youth. So if you fit into those categories, you might be able to be awarded some additional funding. Parents and students must e-sign using the federal student aid through the user ID and password. So you'll just create a user login, and that user login is going to be your user login for the duration of your time using the FAFSA. So you want to make sure that you hold on to that and make sure that you are continually utilizing that year over year, because this application is available each year and you have to renew it each year in order to be eligible for federal funding. You're using prior year information. So prior income information, meaning for the 2020-2021 FAFSA, you're going to use 2018 income and tax data. So that's really important to note. Now, there might be some additional support, especially in light of some of the financial impacts of COVID and what's going on. So it's important that you refer and work with the institution that you're interested in attending so that they can help support you and understanding how the expected family contribution, which is EFC, which will be determined by the FAFSA, how that shift, if there are any impact of COVID, might impact your financial aid package for that institution, because they can work with you individually to make sure that it's hopefully an affordable option for you. Really great resources on the FAFSA website, so check it out. They have a helpline, and then they also have a YouTube channel that has some really great resources to help you walk through the FAFSA application process. In addition, the CSS profile is required by some institutions. I know Washington and Lee, for example, is an institution that requires this. You must submit it by midnight Eastern Standard Time of your first priority deadline. There is a $25 application fee for the first profile and a $16 application fee for any subsequent profile, but it's important to note that they do have fee waivers available for students. The CSS profile is actually accessible via College Board. So if you completed a PSAT or an SAT, you already have a College Board login information. So you can actually access the CSS and complete that profile through that organization. You'll need the most recent completed tax returns, W-2 forms, and other records of current income year, records of untaxed income and benefits and assets and bank statements. Again, you will need a parent or guardian to help you complete this process. They do offer independent, so to learn more, you can look at the step-by-step tutorial that's available at College Board CSS webpage, and they do have a wonderful live chat feature that's offered for students as well. So that's just a bit of an overview of how to go about applying for financial aid.
Excellent. And I think when you talk about admission in general, oftentimes you hear us admission officers say, it depends. And the institutional practices for financial aid and scholarship with all of us is a giant it depends. So I think the first and foremost to remember and consider as you are engaging, as you are applying to different institutions, make sure that you're in conversation with folks like us about the different practices and different requirements, just to make sure that you're hitting deadlines and that you're able to get as much aid as you possibly can. Because merit-based aid and financial aid deadlines tend to be pretty fixed. So just making sure that you are asking those questions is really important. Also knowing the different practices for scholarship review. So there are some institutions for which your application for admission is going to serve as your application for merit-based aid. And so that's important to note. There are some institutions that have a different scholarship review for a variety of different scholarship opportunities, and your application for admission is not reviewed at the same time. That's important as you think about utilizing essays and how you're going to really help build that application for yourself so that you're able to access as many opportunities as possible. Many merit-based programs are going to be based on academics first and foremost. So looking at a variety of things, your high school GPA, the rigor of your program, if a school is looking at testing, looking at that as well. And a lot of times that is happening during the application review. So again, it's important to ask the various institutions that you're looking at. I've worked for 2 institutions in my career. My initial institution, we would award merit-based scholarships as we were evaluating a file. So if you met a particular rubric, you were going to get a particular merit-based scholarship for academics. At my current institution, we only have a scholarship competition. So it's important to look at that. There are some institutions that are going to require an additional application, and sometimes that is going to require additional letters of recommendation. Sometimes that's going to look like an additional essay. Sometimes that's going to look like you're needing to be nominated by a counselor or a teacher. Sometimes that means you needing to self-nominate. So again, making sure that you're looking at, and we should all have this very clearly on our websites, and also asking the admission officers. The other thing to be asking is if the scholarship is renewable. And if so, what do you need to do in order to maintain that scholarship? Do you need to maintain a specific GPA? Do you need to major in a particular subject? Do you need to complete a certain number of service hours? Because in addition to academic scholarships and merit-based opportunities, there are, like we're mentioning before, if you're a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, many of us have awards for that. If you participate in service, there are sometimes opportunities for that. If you're going to major in a particular area, there can be scholarships for that. There can be regional scholarships. And so making sure that you have a firm understanding of, is this a one-year deal, or is this going to be renewable for all 4 years? And if so, what is my responsibility in order to keep that scholarship? And what type of flexibility is available to me as a student as we think about that? And every institution is going to have unique opportunities for them, depending on how they're leveraging their aid dollars, how they're able to evaluate files in that case. I know that there are lots of scholarship competitions out there that are not external to institutions, but are with institutions. And so it's important to be looking at those opportunities. They often are incredibly selective. And so understanding, again, the dates and deadlines that are behind that, and what is required beyond academics. Most scholarship competitions, if you think about them as hurdles, they start as academics, but then they're oftentimes looking for other attributes. And so if a scholarship's looking at leadership or integrity, or if they're looking at service, making sure that you're able to articulate that in the applications that you're submitting, and also making sure that your counselors and teachers who are writing your letters of recommendations know that you're applying for these opportunities so that they can echo some of those attributes in the letters that they're writing. And also, I think it's important to understand the different scholarship names and amounts, because we all do it a little bit differently, right? And we're all trying to leverage our own dollars to help as many students as possible. So there's some institutions that every student who's admitted is going to get some piece of that. And so looking at that sort of thing. There are going to be some institutions that are able to meet 100% of the cost of attendance. And so looking at those various attributes, and again, staying on top of all of that, it can feel like an incredible ordeal, but it's going to benefit you in the end to make sure that you are leveraging all of your opportunities that you have as you're moving forward.
So good afternoon. Denise again. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the great and fun subject of where is the money, right? So how do you start looking for scholarships, and where's it at? We've all heard of the millions of dollars out there to help you with your college expenses, but where? So the best place to start is right in your guidance office. So guidance counselors do a wonderful job of finding local scholarships especially, but they also will carry or have knowledge of many of them out there. So go to your guidance office and ask about scholarship opportunities. Let me give you one little tip. Those small dollar scholarships are worth a lot to you in the long run. So be sure that you don't put something aside just because it's a small dollar scholarship. And here's the key to that. Most of those small dollars come directly to you, not to the college you're attending. So you get to decide how to best support your education. Do you need a new computer? Do you need travel expenses? Things like that. So it's a great opportunity, the small dollars, for you to direct the funds where you feel you need the financial support. So start in your guidance office. Also check out your state and see, in different states, there's usually a college foundation. So check with them, because again, those are limited applications because they're only offered to the students in that state. So you'll get less applications. The less applications that go in, the more likely you are to take home the money. So don't discount those things. It's very important. The key to this, I call it a big funnel. So the more you fill up your funnel with applications, the more likely you are to create enough pressure for those dollars to fall out the bottom and come your way. Also, be sure, here's a big opportunity for you guys. As you approach into your senior year, there's going to be a common question in your life. And that question is going to be, what are you going to do after high school? So if you answer it right, you might find a lot of opportunity to reduce your cost. And instead of just saying, I want to go to St. Andrews University and study, business, Say, I would like to go to ABC institution. I want to study this program. Do you know of any scholarships that might help me out? Because a lot of employers offer scholarship dollars, a lot of corporate sponsors. How many of you have eaten in McDonald's in the last little bit? One of the biggest sponsors, Walmart. You know, people who work at Walmart. Kiwanis Club. You may not realize your own parents attend a Kiwanis Club meeting every Wednesday morning on their way into work, and they may have scholarship dollars for you. So just be sure you're asking about it. Some really big resources real quick, FastWeb College Board's where you signed up for the PSAT or the SAT, but it's also one of the largest clearinghouses for scholarships out there. So go on that website and search scholarships. Fastweb.com, one of my favorites. I'm signed up on Fastweb. And that is because they send me a notice almost every day of what scholarship dollars are available. I've had them everywhere from $1,000 available for me to apply today, up to $35,000 in one day I could apply for. So be sure you're using these resources that will remind you. Be sure you know who you are, know your background, know your heritage. Know what your military history and your family is. Know everything you can know about yourself, because this opens up opportunities. And real quick, if you don't think you qualify for scholarships, let me ask you a question. Do you love chocolate, ice cream, or coffee? Because there's one out there for every one of those. Okay, the ice cream scholarship this year is asking you to tell them what flavor you would be and why. What fun is that? That's a fun little essay to write. So these things are not always so serious in their scholarship dollars for everyone out there. It does take effort, and you do have to fill out application after application. But once you get that funnel full, that money will start to push out the bottom. I've seen it happen time and time again. So I wish you all the best of luck in your scholarship search. It's the #1 way for you to impact the cost of your college education.
Perfect. So a little bit about, private colleges, the cost versus the value. A lot of times you will hear your admissions counselor, your financial aid offices of the colleges or institutions that you're looking at refer to a sticker price. We on the inside refer to this as a total yearly cost. So we are looking at what your cost will be. That includes your room and board, your fees, your parking passes, your books. And you want to make sure that when you are looking at your schools that you are applying to, that you are laying all of that out. Some schools will send, their financial aid information to you when you apply and you are accepted. Others have it on their website, and you want to make sure that those costs that you are looking at do have all that included. Some schools may just put what their price is, and then you have to add all of that in. So when you are looking at those schools, make sure that you are very careful as to how you are laying all of those costs out for your total yearly cost. Now, when that's associated, every school also has a net cost that we work with as well. So that's going to be your bottom line cost. So that's through all the scholarships that we have previously talked about. That's through the FAFSA that we have talked about, and that's through the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant. So we are going to have a bottom line cost, and keep in mind that that first financial aid package that you received is not necessarily your final package. A lot of schools send out your first package with your merit-based scholarships, with some of the grants that you may have received. But then anytime we get new information, such as your FAFSA score, such as your Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant application, or these outside scholarships that you have, or an institutional scholarship that you have that has been previously mentioned, we will update those packages for you. Some schools have portals that you can log into to check those financial aid packages. We make that as easy as we can for you as the student to be able to have access to your financial aid packages and be able to talk to not only the admissions counselors, but our financial aid offices as well. We are here for you, and we are going to do a good job of helping you figure out what that return on your investment is. Going to college is an investment for not only you, but for your family. Your family is investing in your education, and you're investing in your future. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to give you a good institutional investment and get you to where you want to be career-wise. Like Denise talked about, you get asked a lot of questions as to what's next after high school. You want to be starting to think about where college is going to get you. Are you going into job placement? Are you going into a graduate school, a medical school program? And if so, you want to make sure that you pick that institution that's not only affordable, but has great value for you on your investment in yourself and in your future. So there are lots of academic experiences at each one of our institutions, each one of these institutions in the state of Virginia. And the main thing to do is communicate with us. The more upfront you are about financial situations, the more we can try to help you, the more that we can guide you in directions that hopefully will get you into a university or an institution where you can be successful and have a great return on your investment.
Definitely wanted to go off of what Cole just mentioned and talk a little bit more about student success outcomes. So that investment that you're going to make in your education, we recognize that it's an investment, but what's that return on investment? What are student success stories? And how are the opportunities that you have on campus translating to student success beyond campus? So I think we're going to share just a little bit of information about each of our institutions in regard to student success outcomes and what kind of the bang that you're getting for that buck, so to speak.
So Hampton-Sydney, I'll start by saying last year we were really excited to meet full demonstrated need. And so when students filed that FAFSA and were pursued that need-based aid, we were able to give them a package that was complete. And so from that perspective, I think we're really generous with those scholarships, but we also provide just a really unique college experience. Hampton-Sydney is one of the few men's colleges in the country. And so with that comes a very strong brotherhood. And that translates both in your 4 years there, but in college, in life thereafter. We were recently ranked #2 alumni network in the country. And so Hampton-Sydney guys really look after each other, and it's very much a lifelong endeavor. And I think for me, as someone who really benefited a lot from the financial aid process and was able to attend Hampton-Sydney because of the generous aid package that I received, I found that I looked a lot of places and saw a lot of schools that provided a great education and were a good time, but Hampton-Sydney was the kind of place that I knew was going to help me develop as a leader and really become the best version of myself. And so that developmental piece of really becoming who I had potential to be, it was really hard to put a cost on that and to quantify that. And so Hampton-Sydney really brought out the best in me, and that combined with the relationships that I formed with professors and alumni and my Hampton-Sydney brothers really became priceless.
Awesome, thank you. So Hollins University also has a very unique experience for students, being that we're an all-women's college in Roanoke, Virginia. And so many of the sentiments that Connor just shared are also really values of our institution. So a really tight-knit community with guaranteed experiences for every single student because of our size. We are a smaller liberal arts institution and do guarantee that every single student has the opportunity to pursue experiential learning opportunities on campus. So about 80% of our students complete at least one internship before they graduate. About 60% of our students study abroad, and your financial aid package carries with you. So there's no additional cost to studying abroad. So we have several different opportunities. About 80% of our students complete some sort of leadership opportunity on campus, whether it's investing in our Student Government Association or taking advantage of our Baton Leadership Institute. There's tons of different opportunities where that investment that you're going to make is going to carry you through, not just during your time on campus, but also beyond. Like Connor, we have a very invested alumni network ranked. We are also in the top 5 there with you. And so our alums are still really integral parts of our student experience and help students network and provide opportunities beyond Hollins. So just in talking about the investment, we want to make sure, again, that it's an affordable option for you. We do guarantee at least $24,000 in scholarships for students that are admitted, and that is reviewed during your application review. And that goes up to full tuition depending on your academic credentials. So we are investing alongside of you, but we want to make sure that you have a wonderful experience. 95% of our student graduates graduate in 4 years, which again, if you're looking at some of the larger publics, that graduation rate or that graduation time might be extended. So that, again, that investment in making sure that you're completing your degree in 4 years is really important to us. And then our success rate in placement, about 95% of our students are either employed or in graduate school within a year. And in graduate programs at Brown University, for example. One of our recent alums is at the Institute for Public Health at Brown University. So really reputable programs that our students are able to gain access to because of our commitment to experiential learning and overall student development.
So at Roanoke College, there's one thing that I think kind of talks about the community that we have here, and not only, the investment that you are making on your education, but also the investment that Roanoke College is taking towards you. And it goes to talk about a faculty member that I had as a student when I was at Roanoke College. He was a retired CEO or VP of 5 different Fortune 500 companies. So he actually took the salary that he was making here at Roanoke College and turned it into a scholarship for students in the business department. So not only was he taking time out of his life after his wonderful, career in those companies to teach at Roanoke College, but he was also taking the money that he would be making off a teacher salary and investing it back into the students here at Roanoke College. And, it was a competitive scholarship program that he had. But your name would be a part of, his legacy here at Roanoke College, and that's him investing in you. Just similar to the other colleges here that are with us today, we are a smaller school. We are a liberal arts degree. We've got wonderful programs here on campus and even travel abroad. We have a Washington, D.C. semester through our Lutheran affiliation that we have, and great connections through our alumni network. We have a program that we call our Maroon Mentor program, where you get paired with an alumni and get to work alongside them. So maybe some guaranteed internship experiences, maybe some great, tips about what classes to maybe take inside your major and then outside your major as an elective. But again, we put all of our scholarships up front into a merit-based scholarship package that you will be guaranteed when you apply to Roanoke College. And again, you have wonderful faculty like Professor Smith who are taking their money and putting it back into Roanoke College, as well as some of our alumni.
So at St. Andrews, we're a small educational community. We're very tight knit. You can expect to be very involved because we will know your name. so you can just be called upon to help out at St. Andrews. It's a wonderful sort of very, like I said, just very close knit community. So we do have scholarships last year for a campus of about 1,000 students. We gave away over $10 million in scholarships. We have scholarships from sports to academics to the equestrian program to even a bagpipe scholarship because our band is a pipe and drum band. And so you can get very involved. We give you lots of opportunities to access all of the activities. If there's a club that you want to start, find a few friends and find a professor and you're in. So it's all done. So some of the advantages that you get there is being engaged in your college helps you to succeed academically. We're also going to have a lot of one-on-one connection. So your career advisement starts in your freshman year with finding that right career and starting to build your portfolio or your resume and honing those interview skills for that specific industry. So we're going to help out in getting you to that next step from the very beginning. It starts on day one. But we're also a place where you can come and as a liberal arts college and kind of explore. So if you don't know who you are or what you want exactly right now, this is a great place for you to come because you can get to know professors in many disciplines personally and share some experiences. We're a very international campus. Our diversity is something we absolutely cherish. So there's over 27 different countries represented in our student body. So you'll be in classes with them. You will be in your dorms and on the field with people from different cultures and backgrounds, which allows you to grow and learn and will stay with you for the rest of your life and potentially give you career opportunities that you didn't even think of after you graduate. So St. Andrews is a wonderful place. I invite you all to come and visit either virtually or in person. So thank you.
Here at Washington and Lee, just a couple of quick things I think that help us invest in your future. Like Hampton-Sydney, we are incredibly proud to say that we can promise to meet 100% of your family's demonstrated need. So if that phrase is new to you, if your family, after they fill out all that paperwork, requires $500, you're guaranteed $500. If your family needs the full freight of $75,000, you're guaranteed $75,000. It's one of the reasons that I came to work here at W&L. I think the other thing in terms of graduation outcomes, you're here to get an education, and college is meant to really be a launching point for the rest of your life. And so if you were to come to graduation and watch our kids cross the stage, at point of graduation, 75% of our class is placed. Give us 6 months and 98% of the class is either placed in a job, graduate school, or a personal endeavor. And so I think the thing going last, I think, has a lot of benefits, because if you guys are anything like me, you sit in on these presentations and you realize more often than not how similar we all are as institutions, right? We all can boast these incredible alumni networks. We all can boast incredible academic opportunities and a Washington term and all of these things. But y'all are so very fortunate in that you can't go wrong in your college search process. You are going to get a great education no matter where you go. We are all here to help with student success. And I hope if you are taking things away for this concept of investing in your future, small private colleges can be incredibly affordable, and we offer you so much, and forgive me for being cheesy, bang for your buck. I've dedicated my entire 16-year career to small private liberal arts and sciences institutions, particularly here in the Commonwealth, and they serve our students so incredibly well. And if I can give you any piece of advice as you are looking at this investment, engage with us. Talk with us. It's our pleasure to serve students. I run our scholarship competition, the Johnson Scholarship Program at W&L. And my favorite night of the year is when I sit down after the scholarship competition and sit on my little calculator and calculate the millions of dollars that I hand out to students, because it's going to change your life. And I hope you're able to engage with us, and we appreciate the time that you're taking with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for the time that you've taken today. I've left our contact information up, so if you do have follow-up questions for any one of us, please feel free to jot down our emails and our phone numbers so that you can be in contact with us about specific scholarships, about our processes. I think that if you take anything away, know that we are accessible and we want to help you through the college application, through the scholarship search, through the financial aid process. We are your resources and want to be here for you to help support you and making sure that you're finding the best institution for your investment, and that you then in turn feel that investment from us and what opportunities we're able to provide you. So thank you so much for participating and joining us for this panel today. We'll see if there are any questions in the chat box that you might want to discuss publicly.
I just saw one come through about, applying as an undecided major and not, necessarily understanding, are there benefits to being undecided? Is my application going to get looked over? Our vice president, Dr. Brenda Pogendorf, when she does a lot of greetings, talks about, coming in undecided to colleges and how that is perfectly, acceptable. And she's been in higher ed all of her life, has gone on to some great institutions, and now has her doctorate degree and works here at Roanoke College. And she said in all of her time in higher education, no one has ever graduated undecided. So coming in undecided is completely fine. And that is what all of our institutions are going to help you choose, what your passion or what you may have a special interest in, what your talent may be. And not coming in and not knowing that is perfectly fine, especially when you're applying. I would say that, knowing most of these institutions, you're not having to apply strictly to a business school. You're not having to apply to, our English department. You're coming in as a student to Roanoke College, to Hollins, to Hampton-Sydney, to Washington and Lee, to St. Andrews. Now, when you go onto the graduate school level, you are going to have to apply to those schools for your MBA, for your law degree. But as an undergraduate student at our small institutions, coming in undecided is completely fine.
And I'll add, and I know I put this in the chat, oftentimes it's not going to hinder your ability to get scholarships. I think the thing to be mindful of is sometimes we're not just necessarily pulling on intended major, we're pulling data to award scholarships on just areas that you might be excited about. So I think being open and honest with the institution, like for example, under the Johnson program, we have several different academic scholarships that require you to major in that subject area to continue having that scholarship. So I think just being open and honest with the admission officers and financial aid officers in that process. If you're awarded the engineering scholarship, but you're not 100%, let us know, because it's not going to take away money from you. We're going to find other ways to fund you, but you don't want to get into the rigmarole of when you change your mind, what that process looks like.
I agree. There's a lot of opportunities out there for program specific scholarships, especially in the private sector. But giving yourself a chance to grow and explore, and sometimes depending on where you're coming from too, how much experience you've had outside of, say, the hometown or so forth, it might give you a chance to experience things that you never had an experience with. So you didn't realize how passionate you could become over that particular subject or career force or whatever. So allowing yourself some leeway sometimes is a great opportunity. We had a student come to St. Andrews who had no desire, he thought, whatsoever to go into the medical field, what he referred to, and has just been accepted to grad school to become a physical therapist. And it's because of some of the things that he learned in his freshman year about himself and about his passion for science and moving it over towards the sports world. So keep an open mind, and it's certainly not a bad thing.
We'd love to take any more questions that you might have, but while those are coming in, I guess I will pose a question. What is something that you wish you'd known as you were making your college selection and going through the scholarship process yourself? So for some of us, it might be a little further removed than others, but something that you wish that you'd known, or a tip that you want to provide to really help students along this journey.
Well, I'm probably not applicable. You know, it's the okay boomer thing. But I have children. So I will tell you, one of the things that I experienced, one of my daughters is a D1 athlete, and I wish I had understood a lot more about, or had asked a lot more questions. And that's my tip, is that you should really get in there and ask the questions and understand the process, especially when it came to scholarships and being I wasn't working in this industry at the time, so my knowledge was limited. So going in, I remember someone saying to me when I was negotiating those sports scholarships, don't worry about tuition, get everything else covered and you'll win. And I thought, wow, that's very strange. But when I looked into it, I found out that tuition is usually a third or so of what you're going to pay. It is that room and board and meals and books and all those other costs that were associated with it. So that tuition really wasn't a number that I needed to know much at all about. And so be careful when you're out there that you get, the total cost of attendance is a great number and things like that to work with. So I wish as a parent, I had more information about the total cost of college going into it, not just comparing tuition rates.
So for me, one thing that I was really glad that I took advantage of was, as Denise was talking about, just applying for some of those, no stone unturned type of scholarships. And I actually got one from my grandfather's credit union that he used for his banking that was like 3 hours away from where I lived. I had no association to it other than that, but it was just a scholarship that I think I was one of the only people that applied to it. So I wound up with a few $1,000. But one thing that I wish I would have realized more is how many opportunities there are once you get to a campus to really help kind of subsidize your education. So things like being a resident advisor, that's a really great opportunity to get that room and board knocked off and maybe get a little stipend in your pocket. I wound up my senior year having a campus job, and that's something that I wish I would have done way earlier, literally just Mondays and Wednesdays from 3 to 5, going and making calls to alumni. So there's a lot of opportunities once you get to college to help even further.
And for me, I lucked out. I am a first generation college student, and my family we're blissfully unaware. And so we were just so fortunate that I was able to get a merit-based scholarship to my alma mater, and I worked all 4 years, and very fortunate with that. But what I see so often with the families that I work with, and the piece of advice that I often impart is, don't be afraid to challenge the offer, right? I think we're often taught to not ask, like, this is what it is, don't ask anymore. I know at least in my family, it was just shut your mouth and be thankful. But I think we're here to serve you, right? And sometimes the FAFSA and the CSS profile don't include something that might feel small to you all, but would make a big difference on our end in being able to help. At my previous institution as admission officers, we could, you just tell us what you need. Like, do you need $1,000 more to make it work? Do you need $2,000 more to make it work? Sometimes at my previous institution, I had a budget. If it was within X number of dollars and you had a valid reason, I could make that happen. I can't do that here at W&L, but I have other ways that I can help you through this process. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone.
And I would just say, when I was going through this process as a senior, I looked at all out-of-state schools, all larger universities, and I found that as soon as my parents convinced me to look at schools like Roanoke College and Washington and Lee, that I found affordability in them compared to some of those out-of-school large institutions like Ole Miss. That was actually my dream school. That was where I actually had a deposit into, and then I toured Roanoke College and fell in love with that. And ended up, bottom line, we talk about that during this, my bottom line package for Roanoke College was better than an out-of-state package at Ole Miss, which was pretty impressive. And again, loved the 4 years here and still working at Roanoke. So that says a lot about the small school institutions.
I think our time is up, so I just really appreciate all of you for joining, and hopefully you gained some good knowledge about the financial aid and scholarship process during our chat today.
Yes, thank you so much to our presenters and to our students for joining. I will go ahead and share this one little last piece here. When you close out the Zoom, you will actually see a quick survey. Please feel free to take that to help inform StriveScan of any improvements that we need to make. Let us know about any more sessions that you'd like to sign up for. Like I mentioned at the start, you can do that at strivescan.com/Virginia. And a recording of this session and all sessions that have taken place during this virtual College Exploration Week will be available on that same site. So if you need anything, please just let us know. And thank you once again for joining us. Bye, everyone.